everyone for studying Bhagavad Gita together. We would like to begin by discussing briefly about the chanting process. Long ago and far away, I had talked about an acronym called VEDA, where I was teaching contemplations that can energize our chanting. So in H we talked about helplessness. We have not yet discussed. Oh, only A we have discussed. That is appreciation for the chanting. So today maybe we should talk about H, that is helplessness. So H for helplessness, A for appreciation, R for responsibility, I for intention. Other things will remain secret. Keep coming. So these are contemplations that we can have during chanting that can help us chant very nicely. All of us, to some extent or other, are familiar with the process of Namasmaranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada said this chanting is deceptively simple process of God realization. Why deceptively simple? It is so simple, somebody may say, come on, absolute truth, Param Satya, cause of all causes. How can somebody realize it simply by just, some pen and palette business? It has to be something complicated, more complicated than this. It's like somebody, you tell them, you should eat like this. How can eating be that simple? Why not, different methodology? So in the same manner, Krishna consciousness is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajami aham. Krishna says, as you approach me, I reciprocate with you accordingly. So if somebody is simple, following things are very simple. It's super complicated. Krishna consciousness can be very complicated. So, in our A, appreciation, we talked about how we should learn to appreciate this gift of holy name. I quoted one shloka, Vepante duritani moha mahima sammoha malambate satanka nakharanjani kalayati shri chitragupta kruti sanandam madhupata sambhuti vidhau vedha karotyudyama vaktum namnita veshvara vilashite brumah kimanyam param. We had talked about what happens when a person has thought that he is going to chant Hare Krishna. He has not yet chanted Hare Krishna, he has just thought, sometime in future I am going to chant Hare Krishna. For such a person, what happens? Vepante duritani. All the sins he committed in the past, the reactions which are due, they start trembling in fear. Moha mahima sammoha malambate. The attractive potency of this world of Maya is very enchanting world. Bewildering. That attractive potency's glory faints unconscious. And Chitragupta and his scribes in Yamala were taking note of all our good and bad activities. They start looking at the toenails of the chanter with awed reverence. And Lord Brahma and Devatas start preparing articles of worship for this person who has thought that sometime in future he is going to chant Hare Krishna. So you say, oh, that's too much of glorification or something. We can never exaggerate the glories of the Lord. Because God has invested all His potencies in His holy name. And God comes to us in various forms. First of all, Lord is considered para. Para is that form of the Lord which is situated in the spiritual world. He is performing eternal pastimes with his devotees in Vaikuntha, Goloka, Dwaraka, Ayodhya, of spiritual world. Eternally, he is enacting his pastimes. That form of the Lord which is most inaccessible to us is called Para. You can compare, if you want water, there are various ways to get the water. So that is compared to the cloud. So can you access water in the cloud? Too difficult. It's so inaccessible. Although it's there, but it's inaccessible. Then the second form of the Lord is called Vyuha. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Like that, there are many expansions. Eko Bahusyamaha. Lord is one, but he becomes many. So those multitudes of expansions of the Lord, they are called as Vyuha. So that's compared to ocean. But even ocean sometimes is too far to access. Lord has multitudes of expansions. Brahma, Narsimha, Varaha. You know, Rama Adi Murti Shukalani Yamena Ishtam Nana Avatar Makaro Bhuvaneshu Kinti. So many millions of incarnation God takes. So that is Vyuha. Still inaccessible. Then there is Antaryami. The Lord in the heart as Paramatma. All of us have our own private Lord. He just reciprocates with you one on one, personally. And although he is the same Supreme Lord, just like there is one sun, but if you take multiple pots in which you have filled, say, ghee or water, then the sun reflects in each of them individually, when you look at them. Like that, there is one Supreme Lord, but in each of these mortal bodies, the Lord appears, expanding himself as Paramatma, Antaryami. Now, that's like a deep borewell, water, still inaccessible. There is a process called Ashtanga Yoga, through which you can excavate and access. That's Antaryami. And then there is Avatar. Periodically, Lord descends from spiritual world into material world. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati tadatmanam sujamiyah. So at that time when Lord appears in material world, he takes on multitudes of incarnations, avatars. But even then, they appear at certain time scale in the universal creation, and sometimes we are born at a time zone where he has already appeared and gone. So, and next he is going to appear quite later. Kalki Avatar is 4,28,000 years more, 27,000 years more. That's too far. That's compared to like going to a river for fetching water. Now there are two forms of the Lord which are the most accessible. One is called Archa and another is called Nama. Archa Avatar is the deity, Vigraha of the Lord, whom we can have in our home and worship. And Nama, when you take your Japamala and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That sound is identical with the Lord, and one can access the Lord very quickly. It's a matter of realization. So Archa and Nama are most accessible forms of the Lord, and they are compared to a sweet water pond. Which is touching your boundary of your home. Sometimes people have it inside the home also, in some villages. Baudi they call it. घर के अंदर ही रहता है और उसको वाटर इतना डीप नहीं लगा, ऐसे ही हाथ से निकालना. So like that, this is an interesting one. Lord becomes so accessible. And the wonderful thing is, in the Archa and Nama form of the Lord, all the previous are included. So in that way, when we are chanting or we are worshipping the deity, either at home or in the temple, we are having such an access to the Lord. Therefore, we should chant. So now there is a mood in which one can chant, which helps one realize the Lord earliest. Srila Prabhupada was once walking on a low stove lake. I think this is in America somewhere. And helicopter. God-made machine. So very interesting fellow. Keenly observe their movements. Scientists have done so much research on this. You won't know. It has got such abilities. Flying and reproduction, both. People are trying to do some research on this. How to make a machine like that. Anyways, please pay attention to me. What was I saying? Srila Prabhupada was walking on the bank of Stove Lake. And there were many ducks in the lake. And there were small ducklings. And they were quack, 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 quack. You know, going here and there. There was one mama duck. She had some food in her mouth. And she was coming close to feed them. And there's all quacking looking at her. Quack, 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 quack. And then there was one duckling. He was quacking real loud. Quack, 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 quack. You know, he was in desperate condition. And his mama saw him. Just speedily came and put the food in his mouth. And Prabhupada and his disciples, they observed this. And Prabhupada gives a nice smile. This is how we should chant Hare Krishna. Looking at that small duckling. So, sometimes we are chanting Hare Krishna, but on our mind we have so many other things. We don't feel such a desperate need of the Lord. Just like we feel need for water or money or prestige or power. You know, those things are so haunting that when we actually sit for chanting, our mind generally drifts in that direction only, here, there, everywhere. And that's why our chanting is like the quacking of those inattentive ducks. Quack, quack, quack. Let's see. But this one, he was really intent on getting the mercy of his mother. And Prabhupada said, that's how we should chant Hare Krishna. So when we say H for helplessness, what does it mean? Prabhupada gave two models. Just like a baby cries for its mother. We all have experience. When babies cry, mothers have some interesting radar, I don't know what to call it, sensors. At what intensity when the baby cries are we supposed to respond? That mothers know very well. And mothers can figure out by the sound of the voice also whether this is a genuine cry, duplicitous cry, cry with a mundane motive, cry with genuine calling, cry with desperation, cry. All kinds of, you know. Mothers are so amazing. They can sometimes babies cry and they keep crying. They keep doing their own thing. You have seen that? So when we are chanting Hare Krishna, we are calling out, O Hare, Radharani, O Krishna, the Supreme Attractive One, O Rama, the Supreme Reservoir of all happiness. Please engage me in your service. So when we say helplessness, that's the mode we are talking about. And therefore we should cultivate this when we are sitting for chanting. There are two classic examples in scriptures of those devotees who chanted with utter helplessness and very quickly attained the audience of the Lord. One example is of Draupadi and second is of Gajendra. Draupadi, she was being disturbed by Dushasana on prompting of Karna. Karna told, you want to see her naked. in front of everyone. And now that she is our Dasi, we have won her in gambling match. And Dushasana was very powerful when he was stripping her. She was so helpless. She tried applying everything that she could. Her physical strength, emotional appeal, her, everything. And she couldn't help. At that time she raised her hand and called out very loudly, "Hey Krishna Dwaraka Vasin." And Krishna immediately came in the form of a sari. And he completely protected her chastity. So that is the call and response that you get. You call out Krishna's name. Another example is of Gajendra. Gajendra was a huge elephant staying in upper planetary systems in Swargaloka near Mandakini Ganga. And he was on a picnic with his family friends. There were 60 of them, a big huge herd of elephants. He was the chief and he had many aristocratic relatives going around with him. And they were all on a party mood. But when they entered into the lake, suddenly one crocodile came and caught hold of the Gajendra's leg. And Gajendra initially thought, what is nonsense? He wanted to throw him off. But then he soon realized that he is in his element, water, and I am not on my element, land. He is going to be powerful. And they fought for a long duration of time. Eventually Gajendra started diminishing in his strength and the crocodile started gaining upper hand and upper teeth, something like that. Started gaining control over Gajendra. And at that time Gajendra certainly realized, abhi agar thoda aur der aur ho gaya. And in the meantime, Gajendra's friends and relatives were standing on the lake's bank. They were looking at him and some of them were giving him advice. And but nobody was coming personally to do anything about it. And some pulled his tail with their trunk. They were trying to get him back. That would be more painful, right? If you pull an elephant with his tail to get him out of a crocodile's jaw. So, similarly, when we are actually in a crisis situation in our life, such as disease or especially death, nobody can come to our help, no matter how good intentions they have. So Gajendra at that time plucked out a flower from the lake, a lotus flower, and he offered it. Loudly called out. There is a beautiful prayer which we will recite together. Madruprapanna Pashupasha Vimokshanaya Muktaya Bhuri Karunaya Namolayaya Swamshena Sarvatanubham Manasi Pratita Pratyagdrushe Bhagavate Brihate Namaste. All Sanskrit scholars. Since an animal such as me has surrendered unto you, O Lord, who are supremely liberated, certainly He will release me from this dangerous position. Indeed, being extremely merciful, you incessantly try to deliver me. By your partial feature as Paramatma, you are situated in the hearts of all embodied beings. You are celebrated as the direct transcendental knowledge, and you are unlimited. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one of the names of the Lord is Namo Alayaya. Alaya means Lord is never inattentive in His attempt to rescue us. It's like a mother. She's never inattentive of her baby. Like that, Alayaya. And this is why Gajendra, when he prayed to the Lord, he didn't know who the Supreme Lord is because he was in the body of an elephant. Whoever is that Supreme Lord, like that he prayed. So there are many Devatas, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, they were all observing this fight going on between the crocodile. It's like a cricket match for them. From their celestial airplanes they are watching. And they wanted to go and help Gajendra. But when he said, whoever is that Supreme Lord, let him come and help me, they became helpless. They said, oh, he didn't call us. And then what happened? On Vaikuntha Airlines, Garuda airplane, Lord Vishnu appeared and he severed the head of that crocodile who was earlier a Gandharva named Huhu, became liberated from his condition. And his Gajendra also regained his original form of spiritual 400 Vishnuduta. And Lord took him back to spiritual world with him. All happened instantaneously. Everybody was shocked, what's happening here? And in this way, two calls of helplessness, Draupadi and Gajendra. So remember that quacking ducks example? That will give you a clue on what we mean by chanting in a sincere mood of seeking attention of the Lord.
How do we develop such kind of faith? Do you know this?
Very good question. How to develop helplessness? Sometimes we don't feel so helpless. We feel we are quite okay, everything is going fine. Why should I be helpless about anything?
And sometimes even if you are helplessness, it's like partial thing to God. Okay, He'll help, but then we are still picking out it.
So this is not to scare you, but the matter of fact is that in this world, padam padam yad vipadam. Every step there is a danger. And material world is designed for dukhanaya. It is designed for misery. So whatever we consider as happiness is actually mixed happiness. It is what we are undergoing to get that drop. So helplessness can be experienced on two levels. Externally, situations and people, they give us hard time and we can become helpless. हमने मान लिया कि दुख है दुनिया में और मैं सब कुछ क्योर नहीं कर सकता मेरे से. So there will be somebody or some situation unique to you where you are helpless. You just can't do anything about it. Like that, each of us will have an experience in your own life, no matter how materially well situated we are. That is one side, that's external. And internally, we are always helpless in front of our own lower nature, our lower tendencies, lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion. And these are called anarthas, unwanted things in the heart. They really torment us inside. We are wasting so much of our time and energy because of these useless things. So internally, due to anarthas, and externally due to challenging people and situations, we are enough helpless. We just need to realize it. It's like only in an intoxicated stage, a person forgets that he is actually in misery. So the more we become thoughtful about it, we can actually realize. And this helplessness is not some kind of depression. That is another interesting thing. This helplessness that we are talking about is like a baby who takes shelter of his mother. Certainly helpless, but there is some amazing positive reciprocation involved in that shelter seeking, which is to be relished. So that is called Sharanagati, surrendering to the Lord. So chanting is meant for such Sharanagati, that we seek at the feet of the Lord. So if you are not enough helpless, how to cultivate helplessness? Just make a list of challenging people and challenging situations in your life where you have failed utterly. You have tried everything. They are in your, sometimes are relatives or neighbors or some XYZ, somebody, business rival. And sometimes there are situations which you can't do anything about. And finally, we internally, enough challenges we are facing. If you can make a list of things that I miserably fail at, although I take many vows and oaths, मैं कल से ऐसा करूँगा, वैसा करूँगा, I don't even maintain that vow for a second time. Sometimes I even forget what vow I took. कि यार 2 दिन पहले कुछ तो vow लिया था मैंने, कौन सा vow लिया था? शायद मैं कम खाऊँगा या कुछ तो whatever XYZ. You even forget that also. How helpless we are in trying to control our inner nature. So we can turn that helplessness into positive energy. Just like a fast ball, an expert batsman can turn into a 4 or a 6. So we should learn this art of converting negative energies, negative emotions, negative people in our life to our advantage. To get great spiritual elevation by which we transcend those situations. And that can be easily done through the process of batting. Hare Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna very nicely. So that's the secret. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Vishaya vinivartante. Vishaya vinivartante. Niraharasya dehinaha. Niraharasya dehinaha. Savarjam rasopyasya. Savarjam rasopyasya. Param drishtva nivartate. Param drishtva nivartate. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagement by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. So we had begun the section Sthita Prajna, how to become steady in our consciousness, not undergoing waverings. Sthita Prajna, we defined Smriti, Buddhi, Medha, Prajna, 4 types of intelligence. We also had described that this stage is reached by people who practice their 2 dharmas very diligently. There is dharma towards the body and the material nature called Varnashrama dharma. And there is dharma towards God that we have. So we are soul engaged in the material body. So soul has its relationship with God, that is Krishna consciousness. And the soul has to do something with the temporary casing in which he is situated, so that he can practice spiritual culture peacefully. That's called Varnashrama dharma. Varna means occupation. Ashrama means a particular cultural situation in which we stay, like a grihastha, householder. So both duties, both dharmas, when we follow perfectly well, to the best of our ability, we graduate to the stage where the challenges of life season our consciousness to become Sthita Prajna. If we try and become escapist in either of the direction, of course many of us are not escapist in this direction, but especially when it comes to spiritual things, we are very much what they call comfort seeking. If it is comfortable, then I will do it. Not so comfortable, sorry, another time. But we have to do both. Just like on an anvil, you keep a hot iron piece and then with a sledgehammer, bang it. It takes the shape of that anvil. You have seen that? How many of you have done smithing? Okay, men or boys hands. I also did a mechanical engineering. So they have this. Similarly, on the anvil of God-given prescribed duties, Varnashrama, spiritual duties, the hammer blows of various situations and circumstances in life shape our character, provided there is that support. If that support is not being maintained and you get a hammer blow, you become chutney. You don't get any shape. You just become completely stressed out and burst up. That's what happens many times with people. So we should not run away from the challenges of our life. As I said earlier, we should use them for our advantage, to shape our character. And such a person who goes through those hammer blows and practices his duties to the best of his ability to please God, he becomes Atmarama. Atmarama means self-situated, self-satisfied. He has no material hankerings and no misgivings in his heart about anything or anyone in this world, even his so-called enemies. He becomes perfectly self-situated. He knows that the people or situations that were coming and giving me trouble were actually like postal peons who come and give you your own bills or money orders. So when bill comes, do you catch the guy and give him a slap? Well, bill क्यों लेके आए इतना? 2000 रुपए का electricity bill. No, he's just a postman. You did some activity for which the bill has come. And same way he got a money order from your grandfather. You got some 2 lakh rupees a month as a hereditary or something. You don't kiss the postman when he gives you 2 lakh. You just deliver it. Similarly, the people or situations that are delivering misery or happiness to us in our life, they are simply instrumental. We are eating our own doing. Krishna, as he says, we are eating our own karma, so to say. So, we can neither become unhappy, nor become angry, nor become overly joyful. It's just that they are doing their part. In that angle you start looking, you become Atmanam, self-satisfied. So every time something comes in life, you open the packet, misery. You continue chanting Hare Krishna. Continue doing your worldly duties properly. Another time, big happiness. You got this promotion, that foreign chance, this XYZ, whatever is the most exciting thing for you. You open the packet, wow, too much happiness. You continue chanting Hare Krishna, you continue doing your duties. So this is how a devotee becomes Atmanam. You got the concept? So such a person is being described in these verses from verse 55 onwards. What are the characteristics of a person who is self-situated? So first Krishna described the characteristics. Now when we read those characteristics, we feel, well, this is not so easily possible for a person like me. So is there a way I can go to that stage of development? So Krishna started telling, from 58 verse we stop. Please repeat. Yada samharate chayam Kurmongani vasarvashah Indriyadindriyarthebhyah Tasya prajna pratisthita. Translation.
One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness.
So, what is the first symptom of a quality sadhaka?
Control the senses.
According to? No, you read the purport, the third line. The test of a yogi is that he can control his senses according to his plan. So we want to go to that stage where our senses are servants of our will. Not that our will is servant of our senses. That's called self-mastery. Swayam Anushasan ki kala. So self-control, Atma-Sanyam, refers to establishing the control of the soul over intelligence, mind and senses and engaging them properly. So for that, Krishna gave the example of a tortoise. When in danger, withdraw senses. When in comfortable or positive situation, engage the senses. So we should be able to do that in our day-to-day life. Whenever there are situations that are going to greatly hamper our spiritual development, we should be able to withdraw our senses. Although we may be present in that situation, but we are not carried away. And at the same time, whenever there is an opportunity to get elevation for our well-being, we should be able to engage our senses, not at that time unnecessarily restrain them. So this is the first clue we got, how we should start acting in our life. Now somebody may say, but ऐसा कैसे खुद के senses को अपने plan के हिसाब से wind up करो, engage करो. So then Krishna gives another clue. This will be possible for you if you learn this art of delighting in higher tastes in life. I had given the example last time. Somebody who is accustomed to eating dog biscuits. He is given Mahaprasad. Chappan Bhog. Physical items. On one condition. He has to throw away. What will he do? Happily throw. He will not be, aisa kaise chhod dega. That is called higher taste. So, we have our soul who is supposed to be the master of our intelligence, mind and senses. So the senses want real enjoyment. One of the problems people have in spirituality is that the spiritualists always give post-dated chicks. बोलते तो अभी तपस्या कर लो, बाद में enjoy करो. And material life is very promising because, you just get quick enjoyments. You throw some coins and you get some quick enjoyment after that. But that doesn't happen necessarily in spiritual life. So people have big trouble. They say, hey, बहुत post-dated check देते रहते हैं लोग. किसको पता है? One time one person came to Prabhupada and he said, Swamiji, what if at the time of your death you realized that there is no Krishna? And that you wasted your time practicing spiritual life. And that after death you become fertilizer. Chemicals. So Prabhupada said, fine. Even for argument's sake, let's assume that I am this body, not soul, I have nothing to do with God. But even then you look at our lifestyle of devotees. We have a very clean, pure lifestyle, fine food to eat, fine entertainments, fine music, fine philosophy, fine relationships. Everything is at a caliber, even materially speaking, at a very high caliber. So, Krishna was a dream, but anyways we had a real enjoyment in this life. But then Prabhupada said, my question to you, sir, what if at the time of your death you realize that there is Krishna? यमदूत आके मार के पिटाई करके जब बताएंगे, won't that be too late to come to know, oh, there was Krishna and I wasted my life pursuing material life. So, वो कैसा है? Head I will, tail you lose. That kind of proposal. So if there is no Krishna, still I win because I had a better material life than you. We are talking about material enjoyment. We have better material enjoyment than you. No side effects and no payment. Those two characteristics always remain for our life. And secondly, in case we are true, you are in the big trouble. Because if there is Krishna, you better follow what the laws of God are. Otherwise your life, which is careless, reckless, stint with brief time span that you have, trying to burn your senses on either end and extract some material enjoyment, will lead to a big mess, big fiasco, which will be exposed right at the time of death. And that will be too late. So, anyways, so Krishna is giving that there are two things. Controlling the lower self by the higher self. So mind should control the senses, intelligence should control the mind, soul should control the temple. That's first concept. That's called self-control. Atma Sanyam, the model of the tortoise. The second part we talked about, senses need real enjoyment. You cannot satisfy senses with some hypothetical enjoyment. आगे जाके मिल जाएगा. So spiritual life provides real-time enjoyment. The first thing we do in our temple after waking up is to dance. Is there any person in this world, no matter how billionaire he is, first thing he does after waking up is to dance? कोई है? माई का लाल? I'm sorry for using that word. The point I'm making is, you want to be happy, this is a way to be happy. This is a real lifestyle. It's just that in the beginning it takes some time to adjust to it because we have gone too far from our Vedic culture. But it is natural for the soul to live like this. And then our whole morning program is nothing but sense gratification. For eyes there is feast. For ears there is feast. For fragrances there is feast. And for prasad there is feast. There is no sense that you don't gratify in that whole program, for 5 hours. And that's the beginning of the day. You can imagine the rest of the day. So the point I'm making is, spiritual life does provide real enjoyment to the senses, not hypothetical enjoyments. And 2 characteristics: no payment required and no side effects when you enjoy spiritually. So, param društva nivartate. When one gets higher experiences in life, he looks at the paltry sense enjoyment options and he feels pathetic about them. It's like, when you go on the train station, you see these boys, scavenger boys from the property. They are collecting plastic, rubber, paper from dirt here and there. And you already have enough money, good situation in life, and you have nice food and everything. You never feel attracted that I should do that type of a job, right? You feel, मेरे को भी थोड़ा plastic ढूंढना चाहिए, rubber ढूंढना. And I should also get some, raddi paper and sell it and make some money out of it. You feel like that? Anybody else felt that? Why? Because you have a higher taste of life, and you don't delight in that kind of culture. Similarly, for a spiritualist, when he looks at the life of a materialist, he feels this is scavenger business. कचरा जमा करते घूम रहे लोग, और उसको अनर्थ को अर्थ बनाकर, इस भूल को सच मानकर जीवन का भोग करना चाहते हैं. So a devotee feels really sorry for them, but they have to live life like that because he is factually relishing spiritual culture. It is not hypothetical, and we should all strive for such enjoyment in our life. Otherwise, they say ना, गधा क्या जाने अदरक का स्वाद. क्या heard that? बंदर क्या जाने अदरक का स्वाद. नहीं, गधा क्या जाने गाढवाला गुळाची चव काय. Sorry, that's jaggery. I mixed the two sayings, Hindi and Marathi. गाढवाला गुळाची चव काय. So like that, some people just cannot fathom what spiritual enjoyment is. उसको कितना भी बोलो, अरे चैंट करो, spiritual enjoyment मिल जाएगा. प्रभु जी, after all प्रभु जी, you want to have real enjoyment. Hypothetical enjoyment. अरे नहीं, chant. You start chanting, you will experience how it is. So that is why it's very difficult sometimes to give an option. Unless one experiences that higher taste, he will not be convinced. See, you are coming for these classes for so long. You must be experiencing some higher taste, right? Otherwise, who will come continuously? अरे बहुत हो गया, बाद में बहुत बोर करते हैं. Or whatever, no? Bhagavad Gita is, it's not my cup of herbal tea. So we don't do that. Why? Because we are experiencing even this transcendental knowledge. Just hearing it is relish. To hear this knowledge, one feels higher taste. My God, क्या धासु ज्ञान है ये? आज तक जिंदगी में ऐसा कोई सुना नहीं कुछ. इतने सारे बुक्स पढ़े, हैरी पॉटर, ये वो, इधर भी ऐसा ज्ञान नहीं मिला. इतना सारा पढ़ने के बाद. So you feel some taste there, is it not? So, anyways, I have no problem with Harry Potter. I'm just saying as an example. So, ahara is input to the senses that we give. It's not just food. For eyes, there is ahara. Our eyes want to go and look some beautiful objects and billboards and newspaper advertisement. some Niagara Falls and that kind of natural beauty. And sometimes people want to browse internet sites just to gratify the eyes. That's called ahara. And then there is for the ears ahara. Songs or music, we want to do ahara. So nirahara means no material ahara. That doesn't mean there is no spiritual ahara. See, the problem with jnani as compared to a bhakta is that a jnani wants to shut off his senses to material world. But you cannot sustain like that. Senses need real enjoyment, and only a bhakti yogi can have a positive engagement where he can experience true joy in relationships, in service contribution, in self-development, in getting spiritual nourishment. So we should experience this higher taste and delight in spiritual culture. That should be our determination. The example is given, Chatak Pakshi. You know Chatak Pakshi? स्वाति नक्षत्र के समय जो बारिश होती है, वो बारिश जो बादल से गिरने वाला पानी है उसको पीकर ही अपनी क्षुधा, तृष्णा, थर्स्ट वो बुझाता है. If you show the चातक पक्षी, यारे इतना लेक है, इतना बड़ा साइड में पड़ा हुआ है, पिया थोड़ा पानी, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? वो टच किया ग्राउंड को, हम उसको छूटे नहीं, हमको उधर से ही चाहिए. Now you imagine what kind of determination you require to live like that. And sometimes, you don't get nowadays because of human intervention. Nature is not so periodic as it was earlier. Still, he has determination. So like that, a devotee is like Chataka Pakshi. He says, I will enjoy only spiritually. And if that enjoyment is not coming, I will wait. But I will never touch the groundwater. Nonsensical material enjoyments. So again, I will mention this. When we say material enjoyment, we essentially mean sinful activities. It's not that everything material is bad and to be given up. But especially enjoyments that are sinful. Gambling, intoxication, illicit sex. These are the ghastliest activities that incur so terrible a karma in our account. So we should try and avoid them as far as possible. Now Krishna gives a caution in the next verse. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini karanti prasabham manaha. Translation.
The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them.
This is the weakness of a jnani who lacks bhakti supports. Stated here in this shloka. We should never underestimate power of our senses to drag our consciousness away. Sometimes we become kind of, overconfident of our self-control, and at the least expected moment, our senses capture and throw us into the darkest pit of illusion and bad habits. From where to come out is very difficult for a period of time. That is how senses are very powerful. So here Lord is telling, Yatato hyapi. Although a yogi is endeavoring very sincerely, still, and Purushasya vipaschita. What kind of Purusha he is? Vipaschita means very intelligent fellow. It is not that he doesn't know all this philosophy. Despite knowing philosophy and despite endeavoring for right direction, yatataha इंद्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि. इंद्रिय किस लिए बने हैं? प्रमाद करने के लिए ही बने हैं. सो प्रमाद मीन्स मराठी मध्ये घोडचूक म्हणतात. प्रमाद. Indriyas are designed for pramad. You give a little loose end, immediately they capture. For example, there was that recent news, a boy went to play with a tiger and something went wrong a little. Immediately the tiger caught hold of that boy and dragged him, dead, inside. So like that we sometimes tend to think, अरे ये मेरे senses के साथ थोड़ा खेल लूँगा मैं, you know, ऐसे में self control हूँ, कुछ गड़बड़ नहीं होता है मेरे साथ. At the least expected moment, the senses, they attack down, चटनी बना के हमारा खा जाते हैं हमको. You know, that is the meaning of इंद्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि. And haranti prasabham manaha, they steal away the mind of a person despite his unwillingness. So we have that experience where we unwillingly do sinful activities. Where we know if I do this I will suffer. But we repeatedly do those activities. Prabhupada gives the example of Vishwamitra, a great sage and a perfect yogi, was misled by Menaka into sex enjoyment. Although the yogi was endeavoring for sense control with severe types of tapasya. So that's example of Vishwamitra Muni. हमारी क्या कथा? So Vishwamitra Muni was such a jnani, he was so powerful in his self-control and tapasya. And when he was doing his tapasya, all that he got to hear was tinkling of the ankle bells of Menaka. That's some two metal pieces clanging over each other. And have got no whatsoever agitation potency, so to say. Now you hear some, other metals clanging like that, you will not get attracted. But mind has an imagination ability. The whole pleasure of sex lies around that. Much is imagined and very little is experienced. And that is why he had this whole manorath, whole mental creation, fantasy. And then he lost his meditation power, he opened his eyes, saw Menaka, and he got Shakuntala. Who was the daughter? Huh? Shakuntala, right? No, Menaka's daughter. Daughter's name. Shakuntala. So that was first time. Then again he understood, oh my God, that was a trick of the devatas to get me out of my meditation. So then again he sat down. The next time who was sent? Rambha. So when Rambha came, she all started her drama. And Vishwamitra Muni, this time he was alert. Ki wapas clanging, whatever that sound. So this time he opened his eyes, he was not lusty, he was angry. You are trying to disturb me. So you want to see my prowess? That kind of pride and anger combined. And again he lost his tapoval because of coming out of the first time victim of Kama, second time victim of Krodha. So in this our life also, whatever spiritual merits we gain, so much chanting, this, that, everything we do, at moments non-notice, we just lose it all because of becoming lusty, angry, greedy, etc. Last paragraph. Krishna consciousness is such a transcendently nice thing that automatically material enjoyment becomes distasteful. It is as if a hungry man had satisfied his hunger by sufficient quantity of nutritious eatables. उसके बाद जाके और कुछ खिलाने होगा मैं बहुत हो गया, कुछ इच्छा नहीं. Like that the Krishna conscious person feels. Now, how to get that higher taste? We described higher taste. Now, how to get it? So, if you don't get higher taste, your senses will become like a highway robber. It will steal away your spiritual wealth, and you will be thrown into the pit of illusion for a long duration of time. If you don't want that result, you better work for higher taste. So, how to get that higher taste? Text 61. तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्य इन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. Translation.
One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence.
Wonderful. So first line talks about the practice, second line talks about the perfection of that practice. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matpara. That is practice. Tani sarvani sanyamya means catch your senses which are roaming around here and there uncontrollably and regulate them. Samyamya. Tani means the senses. Sarvani sanyamya. And what do you do after regulation? Yukta asita matpara. Engage them in devotional service. Matparaha. Now this is the first drop of bhakti that Krishna introduces in the whole Bhagavad Gita. Till now he never talked about himself. Right? He's not taking body, soul, this, that, all the other things we have talked. But it is the first time Krishna is talking about himself, says Matparaha. Engage your senses in my service. That is the only way you can escape their torment in your life. So Yukta Asitama. So we as devotees have a particular lifestyle. It completely regulates our senses. We wake up at certain times, sleep at certain times, eat at certain times, eat certain types of foodstuffs, and have a certain lifestyle. This is called regulation. In regulation, there is more enjoyment than in irregulation or free living, so to say. And secondly, we have a plan by which we repeatedly bring our senses in direct contact with Krishna and Bhakti, devotional service. That gives one higher taste. Because we have to have, as I had earlier said, non-material sources of pleasure. What are non-material sources of pleasure? We had listed that time. Vigraha of the Lord, service to the deity, holy name, chanting, prasadam, service to Vaishnavas, devotees, kirtan, study of Bhagavad Gita, Vedas. These are all non-material sources of. And engaging our talent in rendering some contribution to society in a God-conscious way. You get so much higher taste. So I had given last time the exercise. What is your higher taste? How many of you did? You did. Who else did? अरे मैं इतने सिंपल होमवर्क देता हूँ कि आपको तकलीफ नहीं होना चाहिए उसका, आपको अच्छा लगना चाहिए उसको करने के लिए, तो आप प्लीज़ उसको करा करो. I don't want to trouble you when I teach, but at the same time I want to really enhance your quality of life and consciousness. So please do that exercise. What gives you higher taste in your life? Unless you answer that question, you'll always remain kind of stagnated in spiritual life. क्योंकि आपको पता नहीं है कि मेरे को exactly करना क्या है spiritual life में. तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि हम spiritual life में आ गए, material enjoyment छोड़ दिया, spiritual enjoyment भी नहीं मिल रहा है, ना घर का ना घाट का. तो बोल रहे भैया क्यों आए इधर हम? So that should never happen with us. And then there is a beautiful description of one powerful king called Ambarish Maharaj. How this king, despite being the ruler of the whole world, because of his engagement in Krishna consciousness, was Sthita Prajna. So Ambarish Maharaj, as a devotee, he engaged his senses in the service of the Lord and was completely pacified in his life. Had no hankerings and lamentations. Durvasa Muni, however, was a great jnani and tapasvi, and he had such arrogance that when Ambarish had kept a fasting which he broke, Durvasa Muni found a fault in him that you broke it without my permission. So I am now going to create havoc for you. And took his jata and threw it on the ground, produced a fiery demon to kill Ambarish Maharaj. And Ambarish Maharaj was standing with folded hands. The demon came to attack, to devour him. Immediately Sudarshan Chakra appeared. I don't know from where. Certainly it didn't appear from Vaikuntha. Lord Vishnu has said that I have already donated my Sudarshan Chakra to my devotees. They can use it whenever they need it. So it appeared instantaneously there itself. And that fiery demon was coming with such flare, his fire was burnt by Sudarshan Chakra. You can imagine what kind of fire. And then Sudarshan Chakra always does E plus job, exceeding expectations. So the Sudarshan Chakra started chasing behind Durvasa Muni because he offended a pure devotee. Durvasa Muni started running scatter everywhere. He went to all the planetary systems, Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka. He even went to the abode of the Supreme Lord, Vaikuntha. And there he sought shelter. He sought shelter from Brahma, Lord Shiva. They said, sorry, you took panga with a devotee, we can't help you. You go and find your own solace. So he went to Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha, and there he said, I'm sorry, Sudarshan Chakra just burning behind his back. Touching. He said, I'm sorry, please rescue me from this heat. Lord said, I'm sorry. I am helpless. Because you offended my pure devotee, only if he forgives you, you will be forgiven from this offense. But in the meantime, I must tell you that I am the heart of my devotees and my devotees are always in my heart. Madanyat tena janati naham tebhyo managavi. And I don't know anybody other than my devotees and they don't know anybody other than me. And because of this intimate relationship that we have, we are inseparable from each other. And we did a great offense. So then Durvasa Muni ran behind, came back to again Earth planet, went to Ambarish's palace, Tandavat, full flat obeisances at the feet of Ambarish. Please forgive me. And this time Ambarish Maharaj was again waiting for a 1 year full, fasting still, because his guest has not taken prasadam. So Ambarish Maharaj simply lifted him and embraced him. He had never assumed any offense. And seeing his qualities, and then Ambarish Maharaj offered prayers to Sudarshan Chakra that please leave him, don't trouble. And Sudarshan Chakra went. And at that time, Ambarish was being glorified by Durvasa Muni. He said, I can't imagine what kind of devotees Lord has. What is their quality? They never, first of all, assume any offense. And if person who is proudly offending them does suffer, they don't delight. I say not like that. And on top of that, they have no sense of pride or seeking respect. He waited for me again till I came back just to feed me prasadam and then he will take prasadam. That's height of self-control. And in this way, Durvasa was greatly impressed. So Ambarish was a married man, a king and a devotee. Durvasa Muni was a renunciate, a jnani and a yogi, tapasvi. But this is an amazing contrast in this story, where you get to know what is the caliber of a devotee and how even a householder, grihastha, can achieve such a position. So we'll conclude with this shloka, Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.18. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvardhane. So Manaha Krishna Padara Vindayo. He engaged his mind thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna. Vachamsi, speech. Vaikuntha Gunanuvardhane. In describing Vaikuntha Varta. जैसे हम मंडन जगत की इतनी वार्ता करते रहते हैं ना, आज की ताज़ा खबर. News channels people watch day and night sometimes. So फिर भी वो तृष्णा शांत नहीं होता है. News. There is nothing new in the material world. It's all old story. What they call punaha punaha charvita charvana. Chewing that which has already been chewed many times. So spiritual world is real news. आज की ताज़ा खबर क्या होती है? भागवतम पढ़ो रोज. When you get a nice news of the spiritual world, so wow, that story I didn't know, and that news I never heard, and that's the interesting characteristic of a devotee of the Lord. So we should be delighted. Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvardhane. Karau Harer Mandiramarjanadishu Shrutim Chakara Chuta Satkathodaye. Karau, hands. Harer Mandiram Arjuna, cleansing the temple of the Lord. Shrutim, ears. Achyuta Satkatha, hearing the narrations of the Lord. Mukunda Linga Laya Darshane Drushau Tad Brutya Gatra Sparshinda Sangamam. Drushau means eyes. Mukunda Linga Laya Darshana, beholding the form of the Lord. बार बार देखो, हजार बार देखो, ये देखने की चीज है। कौन? राधा वृंदावन चल रहा। हम सबका दिल डूबा in that context. So Mukunda Linga Laya Darshane Drushau, should engage our eyes in seeing the form of the Lord. Tad Bhrutya Gatra Sparsha, and you should embrace the devotees of the Lord. When you embrace the devotee of the Lord, you feel so happy and content. You get so much tremendous positivity. Ghranam cha tatpad saroja saurabhe Shrimat tulasya rasanam tadarpite. So he was smelling the flower offered at the feet of the Lord, tasted with his tongue tulasi and mahaprasad offered to the Lord. Pado hare kshetra padanu sarpane Shiro Rishikesha Padabhivandane. So he used his legs or cars to Hare Kshetra, to go to the temple of the Lord and not to go to places of self gratification. Shiro Rishikesha Padabhivandane, and he bowed his head before the Lord Rishikesha, the master of the senses. Kamam chadasye natu kama kamyaya Yathottama shloka janashraya ratihe. And he engaged his ability to desire in desiring service. Kamam chadasye natu kama kamyaya, not to whimsically fulfill his wife's desires. In this way he became Janashraya. Such a king he was that he was the shelter of all his citizens. Now think of it, कोई बोलेगा नहीं राजकाज कब करते थे? ऐसा लग रहा है डिस्क्रिप्शन सुन के कि पूरा हरे कृष्ण ही एंगेजमेंट चल रहा है इसका तो it is said Ambarish was such a perfect administrator of his kingdom. There was no what you call famine, calamities, or any kind of dushkal or whatever ever in his kingdom. And his country was so peaceful, even enemies that he had, so-called political enemies, never thought of attacking him. Because they knew attacking him is directly taking panga with Lord Vishnu. And they had seen the example of Durvas Muni, what happened to him. And on the top of it, when Ambarish Maharaj was about to go back from this world to the spiritual world, his entire praja was so attached to him that they told him, we can't live without you, take us with you. And Ambarish Maharaj took all his citizens back home, back to Godhead, spiritual world. Why? Because he had such merits in devotional service. So we can't take Pune city with us, but we should at least take our own family members and go back. We should all go together back to spiritual world. That should be the goal of our life. So we end here. Any comments or questions? What's the time? So we will end here. During prasadam we can have question answer. I thank you all very much, and I am especially grateful that you hear Bhagavad Gita with such attention and eagerness. I sincerely pray to Lord Krishna that He blesses you to follow these teachings in your life and gives you His eternal divine shelter. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.